Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. And following on from last week, as the Legacy Trilogy winds down, last week we looked at the top 10, as voted on by fans, best releases across the entire trilogy. Anything that was branded or co-branded Legacy. So, Legacy, Legacy Evolution, Legacy United, the buzzworthy Bumblebee stuff that was Legacy, the Select stuff that was Legacy, any of it could count. Well, it only seems right that this week, as voted on by fans, we look at the top 10 worst releases in the entirety of the Legacy Trilogy. That's going to be our focus in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share. Of course, subscribe, and while you are at it, light them up, baby. Hit the notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. It lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that's in the description down below. Also in the description down below. And if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through spring. Or, of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And, yeah, so this is going to be the top 10 worst releases across the entirety of the Legacy Trilogy as voted on by fans. Some of these I agree with, some of these I don't agree with. The honorable mentions include Prime Knockout. I get it. I like the Prime Knockout. I know it used the Jazz mold, but to say it's a proper Prime Knockout, let's be realistic. It was a little too G1-ified. For a lot of people's taste. I get that, especially the robot. As well as Magmatron. I'm shocked that it appeared with any votes in any capacity, let alone enough to make the honorable mentions. Magmatron was, I think, number 2 on the best for the year, if I'm not mistaken. The fact that he appears here with a couple of votes, I guess, and the people that voted said that they just found him to be like a weird design. And he is. He's a hodgepodge. But I don't know if that's enough to make him a worst. Especially when he was that close to being top of the best. Bulkhead, I get it. Just the inaccuracy of it not looking like a Prime offering. Vector Prime. A lot of people still have the original, as do I. But the new one has a nice bicep swivel. It uses a great mold. I get that it gets a lot of flack. I don't really understand why. Do I think it's better than the original? No. Do I think it's worse than the original? No. I just think it's different from the original. I love both. Crankcase. Didn't rank, but certainly I think deserved to rank. Man, oh man, Crankcase's chest doesn't stay on. People talked about arms falling off. They talked about not being able to get him into vehicle mode. The door's not tabbing in right. There's so many issues with the Crankcase mold. Don't get me started on the little blasters over his shoulders for something that's supposed to be a trigger con. Nacelle, people said that they should have used the Earthrise mold. I absolutely disagree. The Earthrise mold is the wildly inferior mold compared to the Siege. But other people that voted for Nacelle said he came with mold on him. Again, let's be clear, that is not mold that was on him. It was a residue that they use in molds to release the plastic from the mold. So it was like mold release residue. It should have been washed off, cleaned off, and it wasn't. Luckily, it wasn't mold, but I get the concern. And funny enough, I guess I'll say both of them at once, even though I didn't count them together, they were counted separately. Ariel, or Uriel, and Dion. I know it was a 2-pack. I did not vote for a 2-pack. They were counted separately, they just had the same number of votes. Funny enough, my Ariel was the best use of that Prime Arcee mold that I had, or Laser Cycle, or Road Rocket, whatever version you want to say. But Ariel was my best, my tightest. A lot of people said that they had issues with it. Dion, a lot of people said he just fell apart, especially the arms. I get it, there were issues with the arms. And even on my Dion, the arms are a little bit loose. Not like other people. Mine stay on. But I understand the gripe. I absolutely understand the gripe. The tolerance, I think, should have been a little bit tighter for those cup-like arms. Those are the honorable mentions. None of them made the list. Who did? What did? You know what we're going to do. We're going to kick things off with number 10 first. Coming in at number 10, we have Shadow Striker. I'm very glad to have a version of Shadow Striker. I do wish that she looked more like her Cyberverse version. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people have come back and said, hey, but it looks like the RID 2001 Shadow Striker, using that same body as Sideburn, back then, is kind of the same thing that they were probably going for here, since at the time we all guessed that this was going to become Sideburn later on. I get that, but it was branded as a Cyberverse version of Shadow Striker, or was that RID 2015? I can't remember which show she was in now, but you know what I'm talking about. It was branded for a different iteration than this body type would indicate. Some people have also said that this is her before she was damaged and got rebuilt with hodgepodge bits and pieces. Maybe, but her head is the damaged head. So they kind of gave her the accurate to cartoon head, but a body that's not accurate to the cartoon, and one that when you do the transformation, it is fiddly and finicky to even get together. While I think the resultant car mode is pretty decent for the character, there are a lot of problems with the transformation, and there are a lot of issues of getting everything to stay tabbed in, especially the roof staying down in place. Yeah, Shadow Striker had potential, but I feel like that there's room here, as do a lot of fans, for a whole lot of improvement in a later release, a future release down the road. This version takes the number 10 slot for worst Transformers release across the entirety of the Legacy Trilogy. Number 9, I don't understand at all. I've said this before, and it's Quake. I don't at all get it. If your gripe is, that tank is a box, look at his G1 version. It is also a box. It is a tank. I really don't know what to expect. Could the turret have been made a little bigger and a little more functional? Yes, I will give you that. But for a deluxe price point, compared to other deluxes in that same price point, this guy has more mass. This guy has virtually no hollowness other than his like underneath of his forearms. The guy has more mass. The guy has great coloration. The guy has a really excellent transformation. I mean, fans are fans. And we had enough votes for this guy that he is on the list for worst of the year, but I absolutely, positively don't get it. And when I asked fans, the only thing I got back was, the tank's a brick. That's enough to make this the worst for you? I don't know. I don't understand how people can be like, I loved animated Bumblebee, but I don't like this. When this, value for money, dollar analysis, this is the wildly better value for money. Nevertheless, the fans are the fans. I just count the votes, and this guy took the number 9 slot for worst from the entirety of the Legacy Trilogy. Coming in at number 8 is a character I don't have, I don't own, I didn't buy, I have not even seen a review of, and it's this guy. That's right, it is Core Class Beast Machines Cheetor. I think the fact that this was an instant skip for me says a lot. I have nothing against Beast Machines. I know a lot of people hate the series. Personally, I don't, but I've had to watch it through a few times, and I think that it's a series that speaks more to adults than when you were younger, because it has a deeper message of, you know, power and corruption and tyranny and a balance between technology and nature and all of these aspects in there. Not going to be for everyone. I absolutely agree. I will say this though. I do think that the character designs were highly flawed. I'm not a fan of the character designs, especially Cheetor. I like the original Cheetor, and when he became a Transmetal, I was like, I guess that's okay, but I still like the original Cheetor. And then when he became the Beast Machines version, no, it was too lanky, too weird, not for me. And the fact that they dipped a toe in Beast Machines with a Cheetor release as a core class, I think says that they didn't have confidence that it would sell at a bigger size class. Anyway, I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad. I just know that it's weird. And I know that fans did vote for it enough as a worst offering from the entirety of the Legacy Trilogy that it was able to land at the number 8 slot. Unlike 9, 7 I absolutely get because it's Ravage. This isn't even the version that came with the United Soundwave. He was released a few times with a few different sound waves and stuff. It doesn't matter which version it is. No tail on the guy, really. I mean, limited articulation, whether it's gray paws or black paws, it doesn't matter. Some of the heads have better paint than others. Somewhere in there, there's a serviceable little Ravage if you use bits and pieces, but none of them have really hit the mark. I find doing the transformation, I tend to knock these little paws off. It's not a good Ravage. It's as simple as that. And it took the number 7 slot. Number 6 goes all the way back to RID 2001, and this guy, it is Sideburn. Now, I know we talked about this mold earlier for Shadow Striker, and again it appears here, which should tell you something about the mold itself. I do find that the transformation here is a bit better and things tab in a little bit better. However, that being said, it is far less accurate to the cartoon than the original was. And I get that the original was probably officially licensed and they can't do that now and blah, 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 blah. But if you have the original or the red version, you really have no need to get this. This isn't an upgrade. It's a lateral move to the side. The only reason I own it is because I have no version of Sideburn. And it was like, yeah, why not get this guy? If I own the original, and I have advised people that I know that own the original, and I have reviewed the red super version courtesy of, I believe it was Maximal 10. And I told them, don't get this, you don't need it. The original is as fine, if not better, than this. When the original is as good, if not better, than the update or the upgrade, well, that says a lot about the quality of the update or the upgrade. Sideburn, not the best Sideburn, even though it might be the newest Sideburn. And he takes the number 6 slot. Coming in at number 5, we have Breakdown. And I absolutely get it. First things first, and I have him in car mode because this is where most of the gripes are. First things first, this is not a Lambo at all. I get that the box set, that's like the Toy Accurate Deco, has extra paint applied to the windows here to make it look more like a Lambo. And they should have done that with the regular release. Doing this and having it just be a lazy reshell of Wild Rider did not help Breakdown at all. The one-piece spoiler is ridiculous. That's supposed to be his accessory, his weapon, a boomerang. This is the upgraded two-piece set. He really needs a better blaster. He has one, I know, but it's only okay. And with the upgrade here, I don't know if I actually have anywhere to store that blaster now. Not that I really care, because I don't really like this guy. I didn't like the Combiner Wars version. I don't like this version. I think this might be better than the Combiner Wars, but that's not saying a lot. And then we go to, and I'm going to try and get this up now. Then we go to robot mode. And in robot mode, you got this junk just hanging down the back with pieces of roof on the side of it. You did nothing. You engineered nothing. You just took the junk and you said, we'll just put it all on the back. It's terrible. It's a horrible backpack for robot mode. Then we get to the foot mode like this. And when we put this guy on his foot, these two little sections down here, they are so incredibly tight that when I try to take this off, one always stays on and actually hurts my hand. When it comes to these up here, the two circular ones, one has a bunch of paint scrubbed off of it. The other has a crack in it because the tolerance is terrible on Menasor. Terrible leg, terrible car, terrible robot, terrible release. And honestly, it absolutely deserves to take the number 5 slot. Did you notice that I didn't even do the Hush Falls Over the Crowd for the most coveted spot? Because Breakdown is just that bad that I didn't even feel like doing it. I can't stand it. And yes, that might be harsh, and I get it, but like I do think it's absolutely abysmal that that's what passed for Breakdown. And the fact that they released it again in G2 colors, guys, he deserved his own mold. Just gonna say. Anyway, now we're at the number 4 slot, and that number 4 is another one that baffles me that I don't get because it's Skullgrin. And again, I asked people because I said I don't understand it. Like, this is a beautiful kind of mixture of the chest of the inner robot and all of the armor and accoutrement of the Pretender shell with an excellent head sculpt. What's not to like? And people said kind of the same thing as they said with Quake. They said, well, his tank mode is just a brick, and he only has treads on the back. Have you ever seen the inner tank of G1 Skullgrin? The treads are only on the back. That's accurate. They're supposed to only be on the back. It's Cybertronian. He's not supposed to have treads all along. I guess that's your gripe. Some people also said, hey, the hip skirt out to the side gets caught up. I shaved mine a little bit. It really didn't take much because they're soft rubbery plastic, so they're pretty easy to shave. I didn't hear any gripes about the actual robot. I didn't hear any gripes about the transformation. It was just they didn't like the tank. Again, I don't get it. It's an excellent mold. It's on the list. I mean, it's, here at number 4, I don't know. If you don't like it, then I guess you will nod your head and agree. But to me, I find his inclusion baffling. Nevertheless, he takes the number 4 slot. Now we're into the top 3, and you know what? At number 3, I don't even hate this guy. I'm just disappointed in him, because number 3 is Pointblank. I feel like we waited so long for an updated Pointblank that he deserved better. Now, you can get an upgrade kit that improves his elbow articulation, and I believe even gives him a bicep swivel. But I could even get past the bicep swivel if they had just engineered the arm in such a way that it was turned around and you could have a full elbow bend. Why they didn't do that, like you could do a full elbow bend, no problem. Why they didn't do that, I have no earthly idea. Doing it this way, you have this molded in bit here, and you can't do anything to give him a full elbow. All you have to do is do this, which wouldn't be bad if you could actually take the hand and turn it around, but there's no wrist articulation. Then we have the hollowness in the back of the legs, and we have what many people see as a lazy, uninspired transformation. And don't even get me started on the Target Master that came with him. I put him with this guy who came as part of a pack with Slam Dance and like G2's Side Swipe. I can't remember his name. Trenchfoot, I think. I actually put him here as, you know, a proper Target Master with him. I was excited for Pointblank. I was let down by Pointblank, as were a lot of people. And because of that disappointment in so many ways, he takes the number 3 slot. Coming in at number 2, I absolutely get it. I can't show it to you in hand because I no longer own it, and it's this. That's right, Legacy Blitzwing. I've talked about this a number of times. It is absolutely nowhere close to a leader class value. It just isn't. The engineering is not over the top stupendous. In fact, the transformation is somewhat finicky and fiddly, if you ask me. I think the tank is okay. I think the airplane is an absolute abysmal embarrassment. It's so bad. Yes, if you look down on the top, it looks like a plane, but from the side and from the bottom, absolutely abysmal. And before anybody says, oh yeah, but what were they going to do with the tank pieces? There are ways to incorporate them. G1 incorporated the tank better. Titan's Return incorporated the tank better. Generations incorporated the tank better. In this case, it's just one armature that takes all of the tank chunk bits and slaps it on the bottom. That's not advanced engineering. That's lazy. The mass is absolutely nowhere close to a leader value, even with those ridiculous hands, which honestly is plastic content that should have been put into the character, because in terms of size itself, he's actually shorter and smaller than the Generations and the Titan's Return, both of which were Voyagers, not leader class. When you put the arm forward on Blitzwing, you have the flap, and you got the same sort of problem in terms of an elbow bend or a reduced elbow bend as you have with the Laser Optimus Prime. The fact that the shoulder doesn't move with the arm is to the detriment of the mold, honestly. And I get that they couldn't have really engineered it that way, but the flap doesn't help the arm movement. I don't like that the inside of the arm is beige instead of a proper purple. I don't like the line across the middle of his visor for his eyes. There's even the tank, while it's okay, like the canopy isn't the right color. Like there are issues there as well. It is not the most animation accurate version of Blitzwing we have. It is not even a great version of Blitzwing. Would I be less critical if this was sold at a Voyager price point? Yes, because I would only expect it to be Voyager quality. The fact that it was marketed and sold at a leader class price point means my and yours should have a higher standard. That's a higher price. You should have a higher standard of what you would accept, as should I. I do have a version of this mold that I did not pay retail for as Overcharge, and I reviewed that recently. And at least in Overcharge's case, we've never had an update to the character outside of the original that was released in 2005. But we have other versions of Blitzwing. We have better versions of Blitzwing. When it comes to value for money, Blitzwing just doesn't hold a candle to what a leader class should be. And for that reason, and all of his many flaws, he takes the number 2 slot. And here we are, very tippy top, number 1. And number 1 I do not own, though I own versions of it, and it's this. That's right, Prime Arcee, who I'm actually going to use Road Rocket here to talk about, at least in part. So, people that voted for Prime Arcee, first of all said, if you didn't tell me it was Prime Arcee, I probably wouldn't know it because the head sculpt and the face is so wildly off from the animation. Even if the body is somewhat accurate, that brings us to a host of other problems, which I had with this one. The first problem people noted, they said this whole front wheel back section that's supposed to stay tabbed on just falls off. I had the same problem. Some people said, my arms just came unpegged, just tore them off the pegs. I had the same problem. Some people said the lower legs just come off. I had the same problem with this copy of the mold. And mine even had this centerpiece like installed incorrectly. It was holding everything, but I could not accomplish the transformation because it wasn't assembled correctly. Poor legs, poor arms, poor backpack, inaccurate face, and I guess an inaccurate pelvis, torso piece. Everything about this was so bad. Plus, it's tiny for a deluxe class price. I'm sorry, a lot of this was junk for Road Rocket, even though it should have been good. And a lot of it was junk for Prime Arcee. My personal best copy, as I mentioned before, was Ariel. The Laser Cycle was an okay version as well. But yeah, kind of a flawed mold. And the worst version of it was Prime Arcee. Across the entirety of the Legacy Trilogy, she takes the #1 slot for worst release. And now we've gone from 10 down to 1 once again. I'm sure you agree with some of these and disagree with some of these, as do I, as does everyone. But this is the fan vote. This is the majority rules. All the ones that had votes but did not make the list include Strong Arm, Cybertron Metroplex. I was shocked he got a vote. The Core Class Sludge. Let's see. Predacon Sandstorm, sneaky, using a Kingdom mold, being the Beast Wars Scorponok mold, but the recolor Sandstorm, which was released in Legacy, so it does count. The Core Class Snarl, Laser Cycle, Armada Optimus Prime, Laser Prime. I'm shocked Armada Optimus Prime appeared here too, but somebody, I think, said that they're probably voting for it because they're not a Unicron Trilogy fan, so they think the thing was overhyped. Lockdown, and I agree, I think the Star Raider Lockdown absolutely at least needed the animated head. Real disappointed that it didn't. Bombshell, that one surprised me. The voter for that, there was only one voter for that, and said at least the leg should have been redone. Bomb Burst, needed more pegs, I agree. Medics, Armada Starscream, Core Class Hot Rod, Crosscut, Core Skywarp because he never had any null rays. Bludgeon, the Doom and Destruction Bludgeon. Turn, Ruckus, shocked by that one. Crash Bar, Silver Streak, that was a deep dive back into Earthrise, but it was the blue Silver Streak that was released as part of Legacy in the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line. And for good measure, we'll say Dino King. That whole set. Them and more. Anyway, I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button. Stick around, have some fun with us here on the channel. And don't forget, not for a moment, not for a second, that you right there, you do make a difference in the world. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.